Hi, I'm Heidi with Onigo Stamping. Welcome to my craft corner. Today I have a really fun card to share with you using the Darling Donkeys stamp set and the well-suited designer series paper. I love this paper and the stamp set, and I think you're gonna love it too. I also have some tips and tricks to share with you on how to create a frame for your card, as well as using the blending brushes, and I have additional samples at the end, so you won't want to miss those. Before I get started, if you have any questions or you would like to attend an online stamping class or event, or you just need help with some Stampin' Up! Products, I'd be happy to do that. Just go ahead and leave me a comment or send me an email and let me know how I can help you. All of the dimensions for today's projects, as well as supply lists, are available on my website. The link to my website is in the description to this video. If you liked today's video, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. All right, Onigo, let's get stamping. Today's card uses the Darling Donkeys stamp set. Now, I absolutely love this stamp set, and it is free during Sale-A-Bration, but Sale-A-Bration only lasts for another week. So we are almost done with Sale-A-Bration, and your last chance to get these adorable donkeys for free. So I absolutely love them. They are so cute, and they work so well with the well-suited designer series paper. Let me show you this gorgeous paper. So I'm going to put kind of all the blues and grays to one side. So here is kind of the blue and gray side to it. Isn't it beautiful? All of these different patterns, just like a men's suit or their dress shirts or any of that. And then on the other side, we have all of the blues and reds. So just gorgeous, beautiful for ties. And this is part of the well-suited suite. So it goes with the handsomely suited stamp set and the dies that match that, the suit and tie dies. So really great for cutting out, suit coats and shirts and ties and bow ties and all of that. But I'm gonna use it with the Darling Donkeys just as a designer series paper because it's beautiful. Love it. All right. So let me set that aside very quickly. The first thing I want to do today is I'm going to use the rectangle stitched framelits to create a frame. Okay, so I love these stitched dies. They're absolutely fabulous, great for doing all sorts of things. You can see there's like a ton of them in there. I don't remember how many. How many is in here? Does it tell me? Must be, oh, there it is, 24. So there's 24 different rectangles in there. They have stitching on the inside and the outside. So if you want to cut a window with stitching around it, you can do that. Today, I'm going to grab the 4th and 5th die. Haha, they land right in the middle. So if you want to do 4 in or 4 out, either way, the 4th and the 5th, which is this one and this one. And I'm going to use these to cut a frame. So I have 2 dies. I'm going to grab my platform for my big shot. Pull this over here so you can see this. And I have my cutting plate. It's starting to feel a little warped. So when it starts to, you probably can't see this, but it's kind of got some push there to it. It's starting to buckle upwards. So I'm going to flip that over because you always want, if there's any push, you don't want that push in the middle. The push towards the outside, and that will help keep your plates nice and flat. The other thing that I always suggest for keeping your plates flat is to try to cut the whole surface of the plate, especially, pay attention to the outside edges instead of always cutting directly in the center, and that will help keep your plates flat as well. So with the rectangle dies, it's always best to try to cut at an angle because they're gonna just work better. If you turn this so that it is square, straight on, that's a really big edge for your cutting machine to have to go across. And it's really tough. Sometimes it's, pretty much even impossible. So if you turn them at a slight angle, it makes it much easier to slide them through your die cutting machine. So I'm just putting these 2 rectangles together and trying to get them square and centered with one another. I think that's pretty good. I could use some washi tape to hold them down. But the last time I did this, I really didn't need to. They stayed in place. So we're gonna wing it and hope it goes well. So I'm gonna cut this. Here is my die, my frame that I have cut. I'm gonna take those dies off there, take off my scrap paper. I have a nice stitched rectangle that I could use for something else. I'll set that aside too. I'm gonna set my cutting plate aside. And then I just have this very nice frame. Okay, it's just a nice little frame that I have here, and I'm going to set that aside. We're going to use it in just a minute. I have a piece of basic white cardstock, and it is just a tad bigger than the outside of this frame. Okay, I'm going to start by stamping my donkey on here. I'm going to stamp him with Tuxedo Black Memento ink. This is a felt pad, which means I always store it upside down, just like that. That helps keep the ink towards the surface of the pad, so it's always ready to use, right? You don't want it to puddle underneath. Your regular Stampin' Up! Pads, they already automatically store themselves upside down. That's why they flip over, so that pad is upside down, so the ink stays towards the top, but with the felt pads, they don't. So I'm going to stamp this donkey kind of over to the side here. Just like that. Isn't he cute? Oh, he's so cute. And then I have the little hee-haw. Oops, that's upside down. Let's flip that over. So that hee-haw, like that. And then I have the stamp that says "You're the best." And I'm going to use basic gray ink with this. So here's my hee-haw. Actually, you know what? I'm going to stamp the "You're the best" first, because that's how I want to line it up. So I'm going to try to get this straight. We'll see how I do. So there's the "You're the best." And now I'm going to stamp this hee-haw over here. Isn't that cute? He's such a cute little donkey. All right, since I have the ink pad already sitting out here, I'm going to leave it right there. And I'm going to bring in a blending brush and do some of the blending on my project. So I have an extra acrylic block that I'm going to set over here to tap off on. And what I like to use, that I have to get out, it's been buried under here, I have my silicone craft sheet, and normally, you guys, I wash this off before I wash it and dry it before I do a video, and I forgot, and now it's got like hair stuck to it. Ugh. Ugh, ugh, ugh. Let's give it a quick clean. I have some little alcohol wipes that I keep here. I'm just gonna wipe this off a little bit because it has some old ink on it too. The red's not gonna come off. That red kind of stained my silicone pad. But the rest of this is gonna just wipe off all this extra dust and stuff. Normally I just run this right under the sink, and then I dry it with a towel. Just get off some of that extra dust. It's really dusty. All right, so my silicone craft sheet is ready to go. I'm gonna set my stamped image on there, and I'm just gonna swirl my blending brush in the ink, tap it off, and then I'm gonna swirl in from the outside, and I'm just gonna do a little bit. Just to kind of make the edges a little rustic. I don't know, a little scruffy like a donkey. So I'm just giving it very, very light pressure because I don't want to get too much. I just want to get a little bit on here. So there you can see I've added, and I got a bunch down here, but that's okay. I've added in some gray on the edges. Now I'm going to grab, I have a couple of pieces of the designer series paper, and since I want to do the edges of that too, I'm just going to go ahead and do it right now while I have the materials out. So this piece is 5 1/4 by 4 inch, and of course these dimensions will be available on my website. So again, I'm just going to ink up my blending brush, tap it off. I'm going to start over here. I don't need to do the bottom, I just need to do the sides and the top. And again, just making this look a little more scruffy, a little dirty. Giving it some texture. So I'm just, since I have some extra ink here on this acrylic block, I'm just picking that up and putting it on my project. So there's those 3 edges. Now I have a second piece of designer series paper. And this piece is 1 inch by 5 1/4 inches. And again, I just need to do 3 of the sides. And you will see why in just a few minutes. I love the silicone craft sheet for doing this because not only does it not pick up so much of the ink like a piece of paper would, if you use paper, you're probably going to have to re-ink your brush a lot more often. With the silicone craft sheet, I'm going to keep picking up some of that extra ink off the side of the sheet, and I don't have to ink up my brush as much. The other reason I like it is it's kind of grippy, so my paper doesn't shift as much. And I don't have to worry, I don't have to worry about holding it too tight. I still like to put some fingers on it, but the silicone craft sheet just kind of helps hold it together. And you can see I still got some off on the edges, but that's okay. All right, we'll move all that stuff out of the way. Let's bring our donkey back in. Let's give the donkey just a little bit of color. So I'm going to start with the light Seaside Spray, and I'm just going to color just a little tiny bit inside of his ears. Just giving a little bit of color in his ears. The rest of him I'm going to color with some gray granite. So I'm going to start with the dark one. And I like to just color around the outside, color any spots where there's extra lines, anything in the back that would probably be more shaded. I'm going to do his whole snout. I don't know what you call this on a donkey, but this whole forward part, I'm going to do dark. I want to go ahead and grab the smaller side. I'm going to color his hair in. I guess it's his mane, right? It's a donkey. I don't know. We'll color down here. Color in his tail. All right, now I want to come in with the light. And I'm going to color over these areas. Color in the rest of my donkey. We'll get to his hooves in just a minute. Do his face. Color right up to that blue. We're probably going to come back in with a little bit more blue. And give that just a second. I'm going to come back over with the dark and do his snout again. And I'm going to do his mane up here again because I want that to be darker too. And I'm going to do his tail. I'll come back in with the light. And now that this is kind of dried, I'm going to go back over kind of where the dark is and blend these together a little bit more. This is just going to give it a little bit more shading. So there's that. Now I have the light black. All right, so this is the light black. It's very, very dark. So don't like to use too much of it, but I'm going to use it on his hooves. It will be a little bit lighter when it dries. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to put a little tiny bit down here towards the end of his tail and a little bit towards the center of his mane. Now, I'm going to do some cleanup. I'm going to add a little bit more blue back to his ears. And I want to grab the dark again and come in and hit the front of his mane again and into his tail just to blend in that black. So there's my donkey. Isn't he adorable? So cute, so fun. And now we're going to work on assembling this card. So the first thing I'm going to do, I want to grab that frame that I had and I want to attach this with dimensionals, but you know what I'm going to use on this? I should have gotten it out. We have we have like dimensional sheets. And because this frame is so very skinny, it will not, the dimensionals won't fit on there. I'd have to cut apart the dimensionals, which I often do, but right now I've kind of used up the edge of the sheet that I had. So I'm just going to cut some of the sheet into some very thin strips. Plus this way we really get some really long strips, which I feel like this frame really needs a lot of support. So I kind of want to get dimensional all over the back of it. We'll cut this again. So just cutting some very, very thin strips of the foam sheets. Put this one down here. Hopefully I've cut it skinny enough. And this one I'm going to cut in half. Oops, that went flying. So, and we'll put this on these edges, just like this. And put this one on this edge. So, peel off these backs. Have little dimensional backing everywhere. And now this I'm going to put right on the front, and you'll notice that what was white and has now been shaded will pop out the edges a little bit, and I didn't quite get that centered, but it's okay. So there's that. And now I have a piece of 8.5 by 11 inch basic gray cardstock, scored at 4 1/4. I'm just going to fold this in half to create my card base. I always, when I'm folding my card bases in half, I like to kind of line up the edges and then push that fold, and that just helps get it even. So there's that. I want to glue this to the front. Looking for my adhesive, so I'm just using some liquid adhesive. Oh, you know what? I totally forgot something. All right. This is going to be very, very rough to do. I totally just messed something up. So I have to think about what I want to do. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to grab my silicone craft sheet and I'm going to lay this on here. This will not permanently stick because of the silicone craft sheet. So I'm going to use it, and then we'll redo it. It's going to be great. It's going to work out fabulously. So I'm going to take the second sheet of designer series paper, and I just did that off camera. Oops. So I have this other piece of designer series paper where I have shaded it. I'm going to put that along the outside edge, and I'm just putting this right on the bottom, lining it up perfectly. Now I have some of the gray granite glimmer ribbon, and this is why I didn't want to glue down this piece of paper yet. I'm going to trim off the edge. And then I'm going to grab me some Stampin' Seal. And this, I'll do this on the silicone craft sheet too, and this way the adhesive won't stick to anything, because that will come off that craft sheet. So we'll just put some on here, and it's going to go off the edges. That's okay. Move this down, do over here, and now I'm just going to cover up that little edge right there. So we'll just set this down, and now I want to take this, peel it off. Hopefully those stay in place, and I'm going to flip over the ends of my ribbon and stick them down. And this is still sticky because it's multi-purpose glue, which means even when it dries, it's still sticky. It's a temporary stick, but that's okay. We're gonna adhere the whole thing down. So there we go. Now I will put more liquid adhesive on here. to make a permanent bond. Since this was when I really wanted to put it on, move some of the stuff out of the way. And then this is going to go right on my card front. So you can see I wanted the ends of that ribbon to go underneath the designer series paper. I didn't want them on the back of the card. And so that's why I didn't want to glue that down before I put those on. So there we go, all fixed. Love the silicone craft sheet. If you do not have a silicone craft sheet, you definitely want one because it's perfect for things just like that. Like, let's fix something, right? All right, I'm gonna adhere my donkey to the front with some dimensionals, because why not? Why not add a little bit more height to my card? Right, all right. Let's get some dimensionals going on here. I'm gonna put just a couple more in the center here. All right, grab my take your pick tool and pop off those dimensional backs. And then this is going to go right on my card front. I'm using the dots in the designer series paper to try to get this straight. So he's going to go right there, and I want to add just one more little thing to the card front that I forgot to pull out. All right, I have some matte black dots. I'm going to add 3 of these to the front of my card. Grab my take your pick tool again, pick these up, and we're just going to go 1, 2, and 3. I love these because they're like adding bling, but they're like a manly bling, right? They're like a manly bling right on there. So that's why they're not all, glittery, but they still do kind of the same thing as adding rhinestones or something. So isn't he so cute? Let's put an inside to our card too. And you know what? Normally I have just some paper pulled out, and I don't have that out here. So what can we do? What do we want to do, huh? Let's just add some hee-haws. That'll be good. We'll take some basic gray, and we'll just add a couple of hee-haws down here in the corner for a little something on the inside. And put that right inside my card, just like that. Isn't that cute? So cute. Oh, I like those little hee-haws in there. Just a fun addition. So there's that quick, easy card with that fun frame and using those blender brushes to do the edges. Let me show you a couple more examples. I want to start with this example, which is pretty much, you'll notice, is basically the same layout. Okay, really the same layout. I have a frame here as well. This time though, I used petal pink for that frame, and I used some champagne rhinestones on there. So it's kind of like the his and her versions of this card. So that's really fun. And then I have another one where I did two different versions. Let me show you that. So here is the gray version. Isn't that fun? And I embossed the hee-haw on black cardstock with Whisper White embossing powder. And then this is the well-suited twine, okay? So in the well-suited twine pack, it comes in basic gray and night of navy. So here is the blue one with some flowers and more blue. And you can see I blended brushed the edges of that. And I add a little pink to his ear. So isn't that just so much fun? So 2 different color schemes, but it's the exact same layout, just use different paper on it. Thank you so much for joining me today. Aren't those donkeys absolutely darling? Just like the name says. You won't want to miss getting them for free during Sale-A-Bration, but you only have one more week. If you liked today's video, make sure that you like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and come back and see me for more tips, techniques, and inspiration. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.